You know,
Doom, 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 doom.
I thought 2016 was bringing everything that's different, everything that's can be new and crazy. And yet, I wake up this morning and find out that Arsenal is going to be playing Bayern Munich in the Champions League. So I guess not everything is going to be different in 2016, huh?
The more things
This
change, the
is-
more they stay the same.
That's right, Chris. This is USfanTV live. You can call it live if you want. I am Pat. We have Chris. Say hello.
Hello.
Hello, Internet. And we have TJ with us tonight. TJ, say hello to everyone.
Hello, everybody. How are you doing?
Do you know what we should talk about first?
What
I think
shouldn't
we
we
should
talk
talk
about first?
MLS Cup.
Or we could drag it out till the very end and then
go to penalties.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Put a letdown to that. Like after all those games, that such awesome build-up, just to have that as the final.
And we finally get on Big Fox. And by we,
Yeah.
I mean soccer. We finally get on Big Fox, and I'm telling people, you got to watch it. It's going to be great. You should have seen the conference finals. One of the best games I've ever seen. Most entertaining MLS game. And then it's 0-0 after 120 minutes.
And then we shoot ourselves in the foot.
Yeah. It's kind of like the argument I was making about soccer, you know, you got to watch this. You got to watch it. It's kind of like how I felt about Michael Bradley, too. He's doing great. You got to see it. And then he takes the worst FIFA 17 style penalty I've ever seen. So, I mean, seriously, they changed the penalties this year in FIFA 17 so that every time I was taking a shot, like when I first started playing, it would like trickle in 1 mile an hour and the goalie could just like reach down and grab it. That's about what that was. That was not at all.
That was one of the worst penalties I've ever seen. That was absolutely horrible. I mean, Mexico would be right to say no era penal or whatever it is for him, because that was. It's like he didn't mean to take it.
It felt like to me like it was 120 minutes of playing in the freezing cold, and he decided to be a tough guy and not wear any kind of layers or anything. And at the end, after stopping running around, his body just didn't do what he thought it was going to do when he took it. Because that's not what he meant to do, I'm sure. He's never been the best at penalties. Not that he's taken all that many of them, but that wasn't what he was trying to do. I would hope.
Horrible. It's horrible. It was terrible.
Let's contrast him with Nicholas Ladero, who decides, instead of being Schmetzer want him to be, I'm going to go last, takes the ball, just drills it in the upper 90, and just kind of holds his finger up like, yep, that's pretty much shitting himself.
And that's the thing. If you miss like that, if you drill it up there and you hit the crossbar or you hit the post or the corner, okay, that happens. Whatever.
At least you tried, yeah.
At least you gave it an honest effort.
You had an idea. You just your execution didn't follow. It didn't come through with your mind. Yeah, Bradley's. It's almost like he was faking out the goalie just to make a move, and then he was going to shoot, but then he like accidentally just kicked the ball anyway. I can't figure it out. Like it truly makes no sense.
And here's the thing that sucks about this. Chris and I are both pretty big Bradley fans and have been Bradley defenders in the past, although that's getting harder these days. But he was, up until that terrible penalty, awesome. I mean, 128 touches, that's 27 more than anybody else. 81 completed passes, that's 22 more than anybody else. He's the single biggest reason why Seattle didn't have a shot on goal for that 120 minutes. He was everywhere, and he was great. And it all gets blown out the window, and it all gets overshadowed by that, which is sad to me.
A little bit like his career, kind of, as we've seen over the last few years. It was like, awesome.
Yeah. So, I mean, is this it? Does he – I've seen, obviously there are the rumors that he would go to Swansea or that he'd go back to Italy. That there'd be a loan deal. I even saw today some stuff that maybe Toronto would be interested in selling him. So maybe it wouldn't be, just him trying to get out on a loan deal. Maybe he'd be gone for good and they'd use that cash to buy somebody else. It's, I want Bradley to be happy and be where he wants to be. But at the same time, I think maybe I'd like to know if his decline in form is due to his move back to MLS. And I think if he goes and gives it another go in Europe, we can see that. So, and if he's bad there, then he's just bad. Then he had a good first part of his career and he kind of dropped off. But maybe he can find some of that magic that he used to have. It'd be nice to see.
Yeah, you definitely have to hope. I mean, I even to bring up something we'll talk about. I said when I was discussing the 30-man roster, potential 30-man roster for January, I really hope he's not there because I really hope he goes to Europe. But at this point, I'm not entirely sure who would take him. I mean, where's he going to go? Who's going to pay him enough that pay Toronto enough that they'll let him go? I could see maybe a loan deal working out, but even that, I don't know. Where's he going to go play? Like who needs someone in the position he plays and can't find someone better right now? Because I don't think he's shown enough lately or not enough consistently that he can truly get to a team where he probably wants to be.
I've heard this week too, since the game happened, because Seattle didn't have a shot on goal because they were very, very defensive-minded during that game. Some people have said they stole it. What do you guys think about that? Did Seattle steal that game by just playing defense the whole time and sending it on to penalties and winning it there?
I won't call it stealing, but I will say
it. Not. There's no way they. Now go ahead, Chris.
I can't even hear you, TJ. I'll just say no. They didn't steal it. It's certainly an unsatisfying end because they didn't even have a shot on goal, and then what? You just get to come in and like. This is why I just think that penalties are such a poor way to end a tournament or to determine a championship. It's you kind of lose a bad taste in your mouth. What do you get from it? You don't find anything. You don't see anything. You didn't really have to work all that hard. You just had to not get scored on, and then you still come through as champion. It's not fair. It's not theft. I mean that's ridiculous to say. Oh, they stole it. No, that's no. Well,
Stephen Fry might have stole it with that save he had on Josie's floating header, which was ridiculous. That was for a game lacking highlights. That Josie's header and that save were incredible. I mean, he reaches behind him all the way out, grabs it at that point in the game when you've been standing in the cold for 2 hours. I mean, that's nuts.
Yeah, I mean, if you want to talk about stealing something, that was definitely stealing because that took what should have been the game winner. I mean, I remember watching and thinking, there's no way. And then it was like, even as he was touching it, it was more like, yeah, but it might go in anyway. Like, oh, wait, no, it's not. He knocked it wide. Like, what? He actually saved that? That was probably a career save for him. But clearly I think he was absolutely the man of the match. But especially since he saved it so his team even got to penalties. But it's an unsatisfactory end. It's just not what you want to see. But I don't know. I mean, his performance was outstanding. I'll give him that. But yeah, the end of the game, I would like to see. Maybe this kind of moves us off topic a little bit here. I would like to see all tournaments stop going to penalties. Like either play on. I've kind of over the years I've had a few thoughts about this. I mean, I don't think hockey has a bad idea of take a man off after a certain amount of time. Say 2 extra overtime periods and then you take a man off or 2 men off or something, or at every 3rd or 4th extra time period you allow an extra substitution. So at least there's one. Yeah, I mean, I don't like, and that was another thing that I didn't like at the end of this game was when it's clear that it's going to probably go to overtime, then you start gauging that last substitution. Both teams do, and all of a sudden you're waiting it out. Well, can we put them in now? Can we hold them till overtime? To me, I'd rather see the guys go out and try to win it in regulation, and if that means that if somebody breaks their leg, we have an extra substitution in 40 minutes or whatever, fine, so be it. They still have to play down for 40 minutes, but whatever. I think it simply makes it more. It makes it more watchable. I mean, penalties wrap things up nicely for TV, but it's just such a. It's like if we determine the winner of, I don't know, the NCAA tournament just on free throws. We couldn't get to it, so you guys head to the free throw line and let's see who hits 10 in a row or whatever. Like it's just such a. It's an unnatural way, an unnatural finish, I think, to a game, and I'm just not a fan.
I mean, maybe it's because I'm part German, but I actually like a good penalty shootout. What my problem is that more and more of these matches are going 0-0 for 120 minutes because both teams are playing not to lose, and then it goes. If it was 2-2 or even 1-1 or 3-3, and then it goes to a shootout, that's kind of, it was a wild game, and we're going to end it with a wild finish doing a shootout. But you see this so often now. We've seen the Champions League, Copa America, the men's Olympic final, the NWSL final, MLS Cup, and the NCAA men's tournament this year all ended in a shootout, and some of those were 0-0. It's obviously become incredibly predictable to the point where when a lot of people were picking this game, everybody picked extra time, and that was like not even in the cards. Everybody who was picking this game for us picked extra time, and after that, it was a matter of, is it going to go to penalties? And and then that's almost a coin flip. So I mean, we talked about this a little bit, but extra substitutions to me are a no-brainer at this point. And you don't want to mess with the rules of soccer too much because we've come this far and it's a great game. But I think extra substitutions should be allowed to some degree, whether it's 1 or 2 or 1 per period or what. Maybe you make them do it at the beginning, of a period. You can't make it during the actual 15 minutes because you don't want more time wasting going on to get it to penalties. Maybe you require that unless there's an actual injury, it's done before it starts or at the 15-minute mark. But yeah, I like the idea of maybe taking a guy off too, or 2 guys off, and we've seen it in the NHL. It works there. You get that much extra space for guys this talented. They can make that work, and you can get a goal, and it's way better if these things end on a goal than it is, at the shootout. I also kind of like sudden death or golden goal, as some people like to call it.
I hate golden goal as a term, but I absolutely think sudden death needs to return. It increases the chance that people are going to play to the final whistle, as opposed to just when it becomes clear that we're probably not going to get this. Let's just conserve energy so we don't get hurt or whatever, and we'll try to win it at the spot. Screw that.
Well, let me throw a question along with that though. And Jordan Morris, they both obviously ran out of gas. You were talking about extra subs and all that kind of stuff. Stay on too long. Should they have both come out 5-10 minutes? And in both cases, all they were at that point, the game had just become long, mix it up and defends and goes the other way. Long ball the other way, other defended and so on. So you got Giovinco or maybe 2-on-4 if Altidor's up there with 30 yards, and you can only make those sprints. We've all sports where you do the liners and the gap, and at some point you just run out of gas. But I like the idea of 1 additional sub. I don't like the idea of taking players off, because if you take players off, you're going to take forwards off. You're going to leave your defense on the field, and I think it's going to leave the game more of that. Just kick it and hope maybe one guy can score, somebody fresh can score, but that'd be about it. You know, the criticism of Seattle's game plan, call it for whatever you want to call it, but Toronto didn't do anything to try and beat it. All that I noticed over the course of the game was Bradley had to go back further and further to get the ball. And then the last part of the game and all of extra time was just long balls out of the back. And it got easier for Seattle at that point, minus Josie's header, you know. But if you're going to – I don't think you remove players, but the bottom line is these teams are so close, and in most finals they're going to be. You have the two best teams theoretically or close to it in a final. It's going to be a lot tighter. There's not going to be space. You're going to see them playing not to lose because they know the other team is good enough that if they make a mistake, they're going to get destroyed. And I don't think other sports necessarily see that. It's easy to do.
Yeah, one score doesn't generally dictate a championship in any other sport. So there is a certain element of that. Yeah, I mean, the problem with taking a player off in overtime is you probably have to take off 2 or 3 before it truly becomes consequential when you're playing a game on a field as large as a soccer field. So I could see where that might not come into play, but maybe I'd like to see the overtime continue, so then you could look at third or fourth OT period, you get an extra sub or something. So there's a little bit of at some point you can still get them. I don't want to go to we're swapping guys in and out, whatever. No, you're only allowed 3. I don't want to totally change that, but if it got to 3 overtimes, 6 overtimes, whatever, I'm fine if we start swapping an extra guy in here and there, because they're at least going to have the energy. They can go in and maybe they can beat a defender because they can just outrun them at this point. But
if you're going to add unlimited overtimes, you have to have it be sudden death at that point.
Oh yeah, 100%.
Because, I mean, imagine you get 6 overtimes in and somebody scores and then somebody scores again, and you at that point you're just, fuck, I don't want to watch this anymore. Like,
I hate that too, when like both teams suddenly score in overtime. It's like, they scored in the first overtime. Oh, but there's a whole other extra period. Come on. No, just let it be done. Let them try. Let them go balls out because they want to do this, and let it be done. And the first team who scores wins, and boom, you're done. And let that be how you found your champion. I don't like going to penalties because it is, I mean, it's just like watching free throws. It's one, not really exciting, and 2, it doesn't really, to me, when you're doing it separate from the game, it's not really like it's not even a real goal. I mean, in a lot of box scores, it doesn't even show up as a real goal. It'll still go in as like 0-0 in parentheses, 4-3. Great.
I mean, it's such a crapshoot. It's not completely a crapshoot. It takes some talent, but it's to the point where you or I could step up there and conceivably score against a world-class goalie if we get it right, and we don't tell. I mean,
not happening, but okay.
No, I could. I guarantee you I could. I could bang that thing in the top 90 of one of the sides and get it right. Not every time, not as much as a professional player could, but I could. And so that's the position that the goalies are in. Somebody said, I think it was Keller or Friedel who said it before we even got started, there's no pressure on the goalies. The goalies just have to be the hero if they get it right. So
realistically, you're expected to. They should go in. I mean, and that's why you notice, aside from Bradley's, the ones that weren't made were effectively crap shoots or crap shots, or you just miss because you're trying something fancy, you're trying to be cute, whatever. Whatever.
Let me ask you a question, because it might segue into something a little more. The cold. We've watched baseball in the cold. We've watched football in the cold. We obviously see soccer in the cold. Did that play a part? Now, what I'm getting to is I can recall last year the NLCS with the Cubs and the Mets when it was freezing in New York. It wasn't good baseball. We've watched the NFL yeah, there's something nostalgic and, about playing games in sub-zero weather in Green Bay, but they're usually not that good of games.
I'd rather watch a game in a dome. Yeah, absolutely.
And there's a reason why the NFL Super Bowl in a warm weather city. Now, where I want to segue to and just kind of get both your thoughts in is you see a lot of people that say the United States needs to get on the FIFA calendar. They need to get on the fall, spring. This is December. January doesn't get any better, neither does February. And could you imagine a league game at this time of year?
No,
and I'll even take it in and wins when they make the knockout round of the Champions League, because the weather's absolutely just sucks.
I think it would be a bit like Norway or some of the Scandinavian leagues where there's, I mean, like a lot of the Northern European leagues, but the Scandinavians, I think, do it probably the most, or the longest anyway, have like a winter break. And it would probably be that sometime mid-December to mid-January at least, you'd stop play, and probably I would say you sort of overload the schedule that you're playing in more southern cities, kind of on probably 2 weeks before and 2 weeks after.
Yeah, college baseball does that. The northern teams always play a good chunk of their game on the road to start. You could do
the first month of the season. Yeah,
but I mean, the thing with that is it's not just weather; it's that they don't want to compete with the winter sports when all they have to compete with in the summer is baseball, and baseball's kind of dying. So, that's always been twofold why they wanted to do that. But one point I was going to make before, real quick, was MLS was releasing some old videos, and it made me remember the crazy old way that they did the shootout, which, as stupid as it looks, was actually pretty fun. So, if we're going to, and I wouldn't want MLS to do anything that FIFA wasn't doing across the board. I don't want to be weird again, but I wouldn't mind if there was a change to what we're doing now, and something, because that's just not great. And it should, everything else about this game is great, and that's not. So, the U.S. Soccer Players of the Year were announced, and we talked about this last week. The U.S. Soccer Young Men's Player of the Year, it was Christian Pulisic. Are you guys shocked?
Who?
No.
The kid who's playing for Dortmund.
Who? Never heard of him. What?
Yeah. And the men's player of the year, the full men's player of the year, Josie Altidore. Had a nice year. Had a nice, especially the second half of the year. Happy for him. But it's still kind of like, that's the best we could do. Like, it just wasn't a great year. It wasn't a great year. But I think Josie deserved it. We talked about the only two guys who you could really make a solid case for were Josie and Jeff Cameron. And in the end, they go with the guy who's scoring goals and the guy who's doing it more recently, which is always the way it works in judges' minds. So the news today, and I don't know that this is news or this is completely made up. This goes against everything I normally stand for in vetting sources and that sort of thing, but it's just that entertaining that we're going to talk about it, even if it's nothing. Klinsmann to the Chinese Super League. Guys, what do you think?
Jawohl.
Ni-hao.
I had to laugh because they can't even name a team. It's still unclear which team he may go to. What kind of rumor is this? But it also makes me laugh that the national team to Bayern Munich, to the United States national team, to a Chinese club team. Apparently, it says he did turn down TNT, which I actually assume was probably a contractual thing. I assume he's not allowed to go coach another CONCACAF team for probably 5 years or something.
Yeah. Plus, I think Jurgen can. And we make fun of the guy, but I think he could probably do better than that. Now, the Chinese thing, everybody knows why.
Oh, it's money.
Everybody goes to China. It's a ton of money. So I'm sure that's the case, that if this is true. And this was I saw it in some website called China Daily, which is like an English league English language website that reports on China, and they were citing back to some Spanish language. I don't even know which country it came out of, but some Spanish language report saying he was up for a gig in the Chinese Super League. But yeah, it just kind of made me laugh. Like, he must really want to go cash a paycheck here if he's going to do that, because why else? I guess, maybe you go do it for a year, you make a ton of money, you live in China, you make some Super League players do empty stomach runs in the smog, and then you come home with a bunch of cash.
Which they're used to.
Yes. They've all got the
They've had to do that just so their families could eat.
But to go to China, did he turn down England first? I would assume China might be a step up from the English national team, but that's a valid question.
Yeah, at this point it might be. So yeah, I would say I'd like to see it, but we're not going to see it because where do you even watch? I mean, TJ probably knows. He probably has a favorite Chinese Super League team, but probably has a
this is one league I cannot name and team in.
But I don't even know where you see it. I just know that they're trying to sign massive players to just absolutely insane contracts. There was a rumor that they were trying to get Alexis Sanchez to go there for like $750,000 a week or something nuts. So
they signed his dogs.
Yeah, the dogs. Ooh, there's a joke there I don't want to make.
Oh God. I hadn't even thought of that. Way to go there.
The U23s.
Yeah,
a couple of friendlies coming up here soon in Costa Rica. What do we know about this, Chris?
U20s.
What do you think is
U20s?
Sorry, U20s. Yes.
They're because they're playing their World Cup, or excuse me, they're playing the CONCACAF Championship there in. Let me check the dates. Middle of February. It's February 17th to March 3rd. So they're going down to play Costa Rica a couple times. Kind of get a feel for the country, the stadiums, the team, see what their competition is going to be like. What really kind of stands out to me is one of the goalkeepers on the team.
Yes.
One Jonathan Klinsmann. So that kind of made me laugh. Yeah, I mean, good luck to him. Certainly with what we saw from the U17s, I hope the best. But it did make me laugh that Jonathan Klinsmann would be there.
I wonder what Landon's going to tweet if he messes something up. I know he wouldn't say anything stupid.
I know their first game. I think their first game is tomorrow, and then they're there. I didn't write that. I know they're there for the next week, but I didn't write down when the games are, and I don't remember offhand. But I think the first one is tomorrow. The second one might be the 18th, maybe. But don't quote me on that if you're watching. And I'm gonna check this out. I know they're. I think you can watch the games online, but you might have to watch them through US Soccer. I can't remember.
It'd be interesting to see too. It's always good to watch, what Tab Ramos can do as a coach, especially if he is still rumored to be an heir apparent by the time Bruce is done in a couple of years. It'll be interesting to see how he runs things. Brandon Vasquez, the signing from Atlanta, is one of the players on this team, and he's, from what I've seen, a pretty exciting forward. They also have Austin Trusty from he's a Philadelphia Union guy, and I want him to be awesome just so I can get a Trusty jersey and call it my Trusty jersey. That's pathetic material, isn't it? I mean, that's I'm kind of embarrassed.
You are pathetic.
Thank you.
It didn't start here, but.
So what else do we look for in these matches? Anything that you're really interested in seeing, or is it just watching individual players, or is anything more that you really want to see from these guys?
I mean, to me, it's sort of like the 17s. I want to see you got to look more at the individual performances because, they're not all necessarily professionals on their own. They're not all they're not playing that often together. They're together even less than the full team, senior squad. So you have to look at it as what can the individual players pull off? What do they show? You're looking for like quality of first touches, ability to dribble 2 or 3 times around some guys or something, sharpness of passes, but you're not going to see a lot of passes strung together. It's still you're hopefully going to see more than we saw with the 17s, but it's still not going to be it's not going to be, you know, full like professional level controlling the ball. It's going to be much more back and forth. In that regard, I think you probably want to see what Klinsmann can do. Or I can't remember who the other goalkeeper is, but you certainly want to see, you know, what kind of abilities do the goalies have, you know, as either as like their actual kind of textbook positioning, as well as their ability as a reactionary shot stopper. So you're not looking for. You're not going to gauge them as, oh, this whole team can in 4 years be our national team, but you are certainly looking at who amongst these guys could be there in 2 years or, you know, at some point in the near future.
You know, Klinsmann makes me wonder. I had a kid on a team I coached who, like, we discovered was just an incredible goalie. We realized it was because his older brother was a really good forward, and it was just probably years and years and years of you sit in goal and you stop my shots, and he eventually got good at it. I wonder if Jurgen did that to Jonathan, just like, you know, he just wanted to just still go out there and show what he's got every day in their backyard in Huntington Beach, wherever they live. He just peppers him with shots, and all of a sudden the kid grows and he's a decent goalkeeper. Or I wonder, you know, maybe he just wanted to do something different than his dad, or I don't know what it was, but I wonder what drew him to become a goalkeeper. When his dad was.
Let's ask TJ. Let's ask TJ about taking your older brother's balls to the face.
Wow. Just wow, Chris. Thanks. Appreciate that. But there is something, Chris, to be said, the amount of hours I spent with
I can't hear what you're saying, but I assume it's something about
playing forward. Now he's playing goalie.
Yeah.
TJ sounds like Max Headroom tonight.
Yeah, yeah.
So it's better than normal?
He kind of looks like it on my screen too. Yeah, yeah. I mean, you and your younger brother Luke were both goalies at times. You were mainly a goalie. My younger brother was a goalie for a while. Yeah, I mean, it is something about being the younger brother, I think, and always having to like face the shots.
Yeah, my son, who's 6, blasts shots into my 1-year-old's face all the time too. So he's just trying to toughen him up, I think. If you know my son, you know what's happening there. Chris, you wrote for our website, USfanTV.com, an excellent website that everyone should check out. And you
best article of the year.
You predicted. I don't know about that. You predicted who Bruce will call to camp in a month, because it's actually been a month. This is insane, since we were driving back from Columbus all dejected, and now there's like 2 feet of snow on the ground, and
tomorrow will be a month from our debacling at the hands or feet of Costa Rica. So yeah, 1 month from hell, 1 month to rebirth. So yeah, I took some guesses. Goalies, I don't think I went too far out on a limb. I mean, I think everyone still expects Bill Hamid is going to be the future. Maybe he may lose a spot or something because like someone like Horvath will take that spot and keep it. But I think there's a good chance. I think he's got to be in on this camp. Arena is going to, well, one, it's just natural because it's the MLS camp, but I think Arena is going to look much more closely at some of our MLS players. He's made it clear that he's not going to go too far out from the players who are already on the team or have been on the team recently. But at the same time, he's also said he wants something like 50. He thinks the player pool is something like 50 players. We've only been using about 30 or so, if you really count it over the last year or year and a half, whatever it works out to. So he is talking about expanding it. So I don't have a problem with. I certainly expanded on my list here. I mean, if you haven't looked, I want Bill Hamid, David Bingham, Luis Robles as kind of the top three. I think that's just based on there's three of the best young American goalkeepers in MLS. Sean Johnson, I could see him. I see you shake your head, TJ. No, he's not. The one reason I put him on the list was his form has slipped. He hasn't really looked good in a few years. But I could see, certainly not since the days when he was battling Bill Hamid for who was going to be the next Tim Howard. But I could kind of see him getting a shot here as a way of trying to correct his career, get it back on track.
I've watched a lot of Sean, and his problem is he doesn't read the game well. And that coming up when he was playing with the under-23s, when he got some time, and even as with the Fire, when he had Arnie Friedrich in front of him, he didn't have to. When he was forced to read the game, that's when his game started to slip, for lack of a better term. He wasn't in the right spot. His distribution was absolutely horseshit. And up until about a year, when he got benched for what's his name with Indy 11?
Lampson.
No, the year before.
Okay.
The guy who's now at Indy 11. I want to say John Bush, 800-year-old.
Yeah.
That's when he started to seemingly learn the game and how to actually distribute the ball, be in the right place. And this year was better. I guess we'll see now that he's in New York if he is better. It'll be nice for NYCFC. They'll have somebody who can actually stop a shot in the goal. But, by the way.
They had a goalie this year?
Not really. That was the problem. Luis Robles is 32. He's not young anymore, gentlemen.
Oh, yeah, that's true, actually. Well, I mean, young-ish, I guess, for a goalie still. Like, he's not I don't know, he's not
Tim Howard.
He's not 40, so, yeah.
By the way,
I'm turning 40 tomorrow.
My wife watches these terrible shows. And one of them is with this. I don't think it's the Duggars, but it's like the Duggars, where it's like they have like 20 kids. So she's watching the show one day, and this guy is on there, and he's going to propose to one of these girls because they've been courting or whatever the hell they call it. And his friend, who's like being the photographer, is Luis Robles. And I'm like, wait, the guy from the Red Bulls? Yeah. And so I'm like, he's a soccer player. He's the goalie of the Red Bulls. Like, what? And it's on this crap show that you're watching. And she's just like, oh, shut up. I want to watch my show. But yeah, it was weird. It was really weird. It was like,
hi, Lacey.
My soccer world was colliding with my wife's terrible TV world. If I see like Cristiano Ronaldo on the Kardashians or something, I'll lose it, because it would be, everything would be coming together. These worlds need to stay separate. But go ahead with actual soccer.
I don't know. Did we talk about this at all? The rumor of Terrence Boyd being loaned from Salzburg to New York Red Bulls. Has that one come up yet?
It has not, but it is interesting.
I think it was Julie Stewart-Binks who said there's absolutely no chance of that happening from what she's been told today. I saw that before we jumped on here. So I don't know. Maybe somebody knows more about that. But I don't know. He's not playing a whole lot, is he?
Well, Julie Stewart-Binks is saying no. Taylor Twellman's the one that's reporting it. So I don't know if if he's not playing, then it's a good move. It's minutes.
It's always better to play.
Yeah, I get it. I was going to say I get it. Training with Salzburg is probably better than training with Red Bull with New York Red Bulls. But at the same time, once you hit the spring and they're starting to wrap up the season, it's minutes, and he needs them right now.
Jared Ramirez is asking about why won't William Yarbrough start for the USMNT. If there's anybody on watching right now who watches Liga MX, what's he doing in league play? Because I want to know more about him. I think he's been fine, if not a little shaky at times for the national team. But I've only seen him a little bit. I think he played, was it the first half of the New Zealand friendly at RFK? and only a handful of other times have I actually even seen him. So if you watch him in Mexico, let us know what you think of his league play in Mexico, because I would like to know, has he been tremendous down there? I don't know. I honestly don't know, but it would be nice to know more about him because he's an intriguing prospect.
I think his biggest problem is Ethan Horvath. I just think that he's getting the time that that Yarbrough would have, and they're kind of too close in age to even be like a Guzan Howard kind of thing. I mean, even there maybe is a poor example because they're fairly close in age, but it's there's not a lot of space there as kind of a wait and see, or wait your turn. So I think he's in trouble, or he struggles just because he has another player in his path who tends to be rated even higher.
Well, the thing with Ethan Horvath is 21. William Yarbrough is 27. So there is quite the difference.
I didn't realize Yarbrough was that much older. Wow. I thought they were fairly close in age.
He's 27. The one he runs into is Bill Hamid. So the one in front of Yarbrough might be Bill Hamid in this case. Ethan Horvath is getting a look because he may be the long-term future. If he's it's Norway, but with a top team, so to speak. So,
yeah, if he stays in Norway, I actually expect him to be in the January camp. If he does really move to Club Bruges, as a number of reporters are saying, is a certainty, then I expect he's going to stay with the team. Plus, I think I looked up Bruges' schedule, and they have a game like 21st or something of January. So presumably he'd be staying to either get a spot or be playing.
Chris, you had some other big names on your 30-man roster, and obviously if we're going to stick with goalkeepers for a minute, one of them was Brad Guzan being in Camp Cupcake this year if he is back in MLS for Atlanta, as everything seems to indicate at this point. So we're assuming if Guzan is back, Guzan is the number one at this camp, right?
Yeah, I think that's an absolute. I mean, if he does come back, and it certainly makes sense. I mean, if he comes back, then he's got to be right into camp. He's going to go right into training, and he certainly goes in as a number one. So he should be playing come March, and you can expect that, he's getting into his time, so he can play and start come the March qualifiers. So yeah, I fully expect if he is back in MLS, as everything seems to point to, he will be the starter and will be the guy getting all the first team reps here in the January camp. Now, I would certainly note then that does cut down the other players on the list. I think you probably stick it to keep it to Bill Hamid and maybe Bingham or somebody as the other two. Maybe because it's January, Bruce will bring in 4 keepers, but I think if Guzan is there, what's the point? I mean, he's the guy. You're going to have him playing. You're going to get him out there. You're going to, build his confidence, get him ready to go, and start showing everything he can do.
And you had a couple of names at forward who are returning from injury. Gyasi Zardes should be back and fully ready to go at that point. And we learned over the weekend Clint Dempsey is expected to be there, which is, he's not going to play in any games, I don't think, at that point. But it would be awesome just to see him in camp. So I saw him warming up by himself on the field at BMO in Toronto, and it just kind of made me sad because I'm like, this is Deuce, man. Deuce needs to be out there. So hopefully everything's going well with his heart and he can actually fully participate in that Camp Cupcake.
I was, to be honest, I was a little bit surprised he didn't get rostered on the 18 for that MLS Cup final, just to fuck with Toronto, put something in their heads like, what do you know that we don't know, kind of thing. Because you're only going 3 subs, you know that. You know which 3 most likely you're going to use. So you could have put him on there and it completely would have fucked with everybody's head in Toronto even further. Just one of those I kind of thought of and went, that could be funny.
It would have been entertaining. I wonder if there's some reason were they forced to shut him down for the year or something like that in by rule. I don't know. there's some reason they couldn't do that, but that would have been interesting, and it would have been cool to see just for him, like I wonder how he feels. This kind of reminds me of Frank Thomas after all those years with the White Sox. Technically won the World Series with them in 2005, but he didn't. He played just a little bit in the regular season and then not in the playoffs. Deuce was a big part of the team when they were bad at the start of the year, and then as they started to catch fire, that's when he went down with the heart condition. So I wonder how he feels about this, and if he really, he's going to get a ring and everything, but does he really feel a part of it? That's tough.
Yeah, I kind of wondered sort of the same thing. I assume he'll should he come back next year and they won another one or something, I would assume that will always be the more meaningful one. But at the same time, he has been a big part of that team for not just this season, but so he definitely helped get them here. He's part of what I guess you could say kind of built the Sounders as a top team. So he certainly gets some credit there, even though he wasn't on the field for the victory.
And once he went on injured reserve, I think referee notebooks everywhere were breathing a sigh of relief.
They were able to tread again.
A lot of discussion going on the board right now about Guzan. Yeah, I think first and foremost, you want him playing. And he's not playing at Burrow right now. So you want him playing. But if I had my choice, I'd rather him play in Europe, even if it's the championship or somewhere. I'd rather him be there than come back to MLS. But yeah, I more than anything, I want him playing. And so if he needs to come back here to play, then so be it. I'm sure he's going to be cashing a big check based on his name and his status with the national team here in MLS. So good for him with that. But yeah, play first and foremost, especially for a goalkeeper, because he's not going to get any minutes. So at Burrow, unless somebody gets hurt, Victor Valdez, I believe it is, ahead of him. So yeah. And anything else, guys? Have we covered it?
I'm totally in agreement too that we absolutely need someone other than Clint to score consistently for the U.S. I do think if Josie continues his form, as we've seen a couple comments in here about, that could be the answer. He's certainly shown that he has the ability this year. He's seemed to get some of his scoring touch back. Josie has, So, yeah, that would give us the chance, because the problem has become, Deuce is just getting too old. We can't keep relying on him as our goal scorer or as our goal poacher. We need an actual goal-scoring striker out there. Now, Bobby Wood has shown some of that too. So, we do have right now we do have two capable options. But, it would be nice to see someone that we can count on like we have Deuce for so long.
The thing I wonder about with Josie is, are the hamstrings actually fixed? There's some idea that is he just having a run of good luck with his health and the hamstring's going to snap the next time we need it in March or whatever, like it always seems to do? Or have they done something medically or physically with him that's gotten him healthier and more likely to stay healthy? And that would be nice to see with Josie, because he's never really realized his talent, in part because of the problems he's had with his hamstrings. And so if we can keep Josie healthy and keep him on this run, that would be nice. But there's a long, cold winter before he plays again, so we'll see what he does when he comes out again.
One other name I'll throw at you for forwards. What about Johansson? Is he done?
Is he even playing at Werder Bremen? We were talking about this. He's healthy again, right?
Yeah, he's been so back and forth with all his injuries that I kind of wonder if he's not done for the U.S. Not even because he couldn't still do it, but just because when is he going to get another chance to play for a club? Because he's good enough that he can play at top level, like the top Bundesliga level, but or top European League level, but he can't stay healthy long enough to actually achieve it. So who knows? I do kind of fear, because even in the last World Cup, I was really hoping he would play in place of Josie most of the time, because his talent on the ball is just so much better. his touch with the ball is so much better. But it's not the style that Klinsmann wanted to play. And
he's hurt for Bremen. Yeah, I don't think he is anymore, but I know what you mean. They've got him listed that way. And it's kind of like Matt Debuchy for Arsenal seems to be hurt for most of the year. But yeah, it's another name I'll throw out, and this could be a big one for 2017. Dom Dwyer could get his U.S. citizenship this year. He got his green card in 2012, which means he can apply for citizenship in 2017. I don't think he can do it and get it all done unless, President Trump steps in or something by Camp Cupcake. But he could be and should probably be a member of this team by the end of next season. And, he's a guy I'd be excited to have. So that's another name that we'll be getting in the not so distant future.
I guess I never realized he was only 26. So yeah, he does have some time yet. Which I never realized with him. I thought he was in his 30s as well. To me, he reminds me of kind of Lee Wynn, Darlington Nagbe, real nice MLS player. I don't necessarily see him being a difference maker, but I could be wrong.
Yeah, we'll certainly see. I mean, it's certainly interesting to see what he could offer. And right now, of that style, I think is certainly of interest to Bruce Arena, if not, to kind of the entire USMNT group of supporters and fans and well-wishers.
USMNT Nation, if you will.
One nation, one team.
I hate that phrase, by the way. I hate one nation, one team. I also hate when sports teams are, Cardinals Nation or whatever.
Yeah.
Shut up, you're an idiot. I think we've covered it. You guys want to talk about anything else? What do you think? So here's what you guys should do. You should check us out on Twitter. It's at USfanTV. The website is USfanTV.com. We try to put stuff up there every single day for you to read and consume and enjoy. We have a YouTube. You figure that out because you're watching it right now. But if you haven't, go ahead and subscribe to that. That's something we like to see happen. We have a Facebook, although we don't do a ton on there. You can be an early adopter, an early liker of our Facebook. I think we've only got
our Book of Face,
a handful of likes on our Book of Face. So go ahead and do that. And yeah, if you like this crap that we're putting out, not to use Men in Blazers term, but I would say that this is also crap. But if you like it, and some of you seem to, share it with some friends, maybe throw it on Reddit, put it on Pornhub. I don't care what you do, but just put it out there. Maybe somebody's into it there. Who knows? Any final words, guys?
I'm good. Thanks, everybody. We appreciate you watching. We appreciate the comments. So,
Max Hedrum, do you want to say anything else?
I've got absolutely nothing to add at this point. I think I have to go back to cleaning because we have to sanitize from our 4-year-old today, who decided that throwing up everywhere was in his best interest.
I had that last week. It's a good time. All right. Awesome. Thanks, guys. We'll see you Wednesday night right here on the YouTube. Bye.
Same bat time, same bat channel.